In the 20th century, across many nations, a system of child recruitment for military and political purposes was systematically established, impacting millions of children over several decades. This was not a random phenomenon, but the result of organized policies and legal frameworks designed to legitimize the use of children in military operations and propaganda. Today, we will analyze this system from both historical and sociological perspectives to understand how policies can turn child recruitment into a legal activity and to draw critical lessons for protecting children in the modern world. If you care about learning history to build a safer future for children, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Historical knowledge helps us identify and prevent similar patterns today. To understand why child recruitment systems could exist and persist, we need to examine the historical context of the 20th century. According to research by Dr. Margaret Macmillan from the University of Oxford, this period was shaped by three key factors. First, the political factor, the rise of extreme nationalism and totalitarian regimes. Historical records show that governments during this period often used the concept of national duty to justify mobilizing all resources, including children, in service of the state. This is evident in laws like Germany's 1936 Youth Law and similar policies in the Soviet Union. Second, the social factor, changes in family structures and the growing role of the state. Research by historian Philippe Ariès on the history of childhood shows that the concept of children's rights was not yet fully developed. The state was often viewed as having the authority to intervene in children's education and future, sometimes even surpassing parental rights. Third, the economic factor, economic crises and wars, created high demand for manpower. According to the International Labour Organization, between 1914 and 1945, approximately 15 to 20 million children worldwide were mobilized for war-related activities, including working in weapons factories and providing military support services. These conditions created an environment where child recruitment systems could thrive without significant social resistance. Importantly, this system was not unique to a single country. During the same period, similar models appeared in many places. In Germany, the Hitler Youth recruited about 8 million young people by 1939. In the Soviet Union, organizations like Komsomol and the Young Pioneers mobilized millions of children for political and military activities. In Asia, Japan implemented child recruitment policies in occupied territories, with an estimated 200,000 children from Korea and Southeast Asian nations being affected. This reveals that systemic child recruitment was a product of broad political and social trends in the 20th century, not merely a cultural anomaly. The system was legalized through carefully crafted legal mechanisms. According to documents from the International Institute of Legal History, governments often used concepts like national education and citizenship preparation to justify child recruitment. For example, Germany's 1935 National Education Law mandated that all German youth have a duty to participate in physical and spiritual education to prepare for national service. The role of religion in justifying or opposing the system varied. In some countries, religious institutions cooperated with the state in recruiting children, as documented in records from the Vatican and Protestant churches. However, there were also cases of strong opposition, such as Bishop Clemens August Graf von Galen in Germany, who publicly denounced the use of children for political purposes. According to Dr. Nicholas Stargardt's book, The German War, the child recruitment system followed a highly organized model. Recruitment was systematic. Records show that selection was based on age, 10 to 18, health status, and social background, with an estimated 500,000 to 1 million children recruited annually worldwide between 1930 and 1945. The process was managed by specialized departments within ministries of education or defense, following legally defined procedures. The system followed specific stages. Professor Gerhard Rempel's research shows that recruitment usually began with mandatory school registration, followed by training camps lasting from 6 months to 2 years. These camps involved military personnel, specially trained educators, and psychologists to ensure educational effectiveness. A strict surveillance system was in place. Documents from the U.S. National Archives reveal monitoring mechanisms, including regular reports, surprise inspections by central authorities, and community informant networks to ensure compliance. Numerical estimates show the massive scale of the issue. Researchers estimate that 25 to 30 million children were affected by organized recruitment systems between 1914 and 1975. The annual rate ranged from 800,000 to 1.5 million, depending on the political and military context. Geographically, 60% were in Europe, 25% in Asia, and 15% elsewhere. Most recruited children were aged 12 to 17, making up 80% of the total. Dr. Ben Shepherd from the University of Glasgow notes, "These numbers reflect not only the scale of the issue, but the level of systemic intent behind using children as a strategic resource. Why did this system persist with so little opposition?" Research identifies 3 core sustaining mechanisms. Information control played a crucial role. Governments tightly controlled information about child recruitment through press censorship, restricted public access to data, and propaganda that framed recruitment as a sacred duty. For example, in Nazi Germany, 1933 to 1945, media were only allowed to report positively on youth organizations. Institutional protection was ensured through legal frameworks. Historical legal documents reveal harsh penalties for those obstructing recruitment, dedicated enforcement bodies, and laws integrating child recruitment into compulsory education. Special courts were even established to enforce compliance. Networked interests also mattered. Professor Mark Mazower of Columbia University explains that the system created career opportunities and benefits for bureaucrats, teachers, and military officers, resulting in active support from those who gained from it and silencing potential opposition. The impacts of the system were deep and multifaceted. Psychological effects were well documented. Historical psychological studies by Dr. Alexandra Garbarini show that recruited children often suffered from disconnection from family, identity crises due to early ideological indoctrination, and difficulties reintegrating into society. Interviews with survivors and post-war medical reports confirm this. Social impacts extended to families and communities. Families were fractured as children were taken away too early, communities lost future generations, and cultural traditions were disrupted. Many families never reunited with their children. Cultural consequences were profound. Anthropologist Dr. James Virch found that the transmission of values was severely disrupted. Children educated under state ideologies often lost connection to their native culture, creating a rootless generation. Not all accepted the system passively. Historical records show various forms of resistance. From 1935, acts of defiance included families hiding their children, teachers refusing to participate in selection, and underground networks helping children escape. Though not widespread, these efforts reflect a persistent awareness of injustice. Religious and human rights groups played crucial roles. Catholic churches in Poland and parts of Europe ran secret schools to provide alternative education. Early human rights organizations tried to document and preserve evidence of child abuse, supported by the International Red Cross and various faith-based groups. These efforts, though limited, achieved some success in rescuing children and maintaining awareness of human rights. They show that even in the harshest conditions, there were voices and actions defending children, however suppressed they may have been. The organized recruitment systems began to decline between the 1940s and 1970s, depending on the region. Key reasons included the fall of the regimes that supported them, particularly Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy after World War II, and policy shifts in the USSR after Stalin's death. The rise of international children's rights law, especially with the founding of the United Nations and the 1959 Declaration of the Rights of the Child. Pressure from international opinion and human rights organizations as the consequences of child recruitment became widely known. As Professor Tony Judt observed in Post-War, A History of Europe since 1945. The end of organized child recruitment systems marked a turning point in how modern societies view children's rights and the state's responsibility to protect the young. This phenomenon has historical precedents. In the 19th century, civil wars and national liberation movements recruited children, like in the U.S. Civil War, 1861 to 1865, where 100,000 children under 18 served on both sides, often justified by patriotic duty. In the 18th century, European revolutions did the same. During the French Revolution, the enfants de la patrie were mobilized for military and political activities. The difference lies in scale and systematic organization, which was more developed in the 20th century. In the 21st century, child recruitment continues in modern forms. Armed groups in Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia still use children in conflict. According to P.W. Singer in Children at War, 2005, the shared pattern is psychological manipulation and use of lofty ideals to justify exploitation. As of 2023, according to the United Nations, about 250,000 children globally are still involved with armed forces and groups, excluding unreported or informal cases. Modern forms of child recruitment include combat roles, scouts, and messengers, especially in regions like the Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Southeast Asia. Children are also exploited in organized crime and terrorism, including drug trafficking. Despite different contexts, alarming parallels remain: use of propaganda and ideals, modern technology like social media for recruitment, and weak education and social protection systems in vulnerable areas. From historical lessons, the international community has developed several countermeasures. Legal frameworks like the 1989 UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and the 2000 Optional Protocol on Children in Armed Conflict now prohibit and penalize the recruitment of anyone under 18 into armed forces. International monitoring mechanisms involve UNICEF and others conducting surveillance, reporting, and interventions in over 50 high-risk countries. Programs include situation monitoring, victim support, and legal reform collaboration. Education and awareness campaigns are crucial. Child rights education programs have been launched in schools, communities, and media outlets in many at-risk countries. Academically, the debate on systemic child recruitment continues. Social history scholars, like Eric Hobsbawm and Charles Tilly, view child recruitment as rooted in socio-economic conditions: poverty, instability, and structural exploitation. Political psychology scholars, like Martha Crenshaw and Louise Richardson, argue that ideological and psychological manipulation plays a more decisive role, focusing on how children are recruited and controlled. This debate shapes how intervention programs are designed and how we understand child recruitment in modern conflicts. Key lessons for our time. Power. Political systems may use children as tools to consolidate control. Democratic institutions and checks on power are essential to prevent such abuse. Information. Historical experience shows that information control sustains harmful systems. Press freedom and public access to information are vital to child protection. Community. Community networks are irreplaceable in protecting children. Educating communities on child rights and warning signs creates natural barriers against exploitation. As Dr. Graça Machel, lead author of the UN Report on Children in Armed Conflict, said, "History teaches us that protecting children is not just a government duty, it is a responsibility shared by society. By understanding how harmful systems worked in the past, we can build stronger defenses for today." Through studying how child recruitment was legalized and systematized in history, we've seen how political, social, and economic factors combine to allow exploitation to flourish. We've learned the importance of maintaining democratic institutions, free information, and strong social protection networks. Ultimately, studying history is not just about understanding the past, it's about arming ourselves to protect the future. If this video helped you better understand how systems can turn child recruitment into legal practice and the harm it causes, please share it with others who care about children's rights. Subscribe for more meaningful historical analysis on urgent social issues. And let me know in the comments. What do you think is the most important lesson from today's discussion? How can we apply these insights to protect children in today's world? Thank you for taking the time to learn about this difficult but vital subject. Understanding history helps us become more responsible citizens in safeguarding future generations. We'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue exploring powerful lessons from history to build a safer world for children.